Okay, so I want to start by demonstrating for you guys how to create your grid for drawing. So I'm going to start off, you'll need a straight edge, your pencil, and be nice to have an eraser in case you make a mistake. But we are going to start off with creating the grid around our reference drawing. I have the order of operations here. We want to start off with our box, okay? The box has to be first, and the box is created on all four sides by where it would touch the image first, okay? So these are your outermost spots where it would touch first, and the best and easiest way to find that is you're going to want to line your straight edge up with the edge of your paper. This will ensure that you're going to have a straight line wherever you place that line. And then you want to slide it up until it touches the image. Once it's touching the image, then you want to make sure that it is still lined up here so you have a straight line, okay? And then if you'll notice, I'm holding my pencil farther back instead of like this trying to do it. You will have an easier time creating lighter lines, and running it along your straight edge is a little easier. You have however many years since you've been in kindergarten training to write like this and to give a specific pressure holding your pencil like this, okay? We want to be light, we want loose, so get used to holding your pencil a little farther back, okay? Now I'm gonna run my line across, and now I have a nice straight line that will be the bottom of my box across the bottom of my image. And then I will turn my paper, and I will do the same thing by lining the edge of my straight edge up against the edge of my paper and slide till it touches my image. Make sure it's still lined up, straight line, and then I will run the line up, okay? Again, turn my paper. This time I'm going to line up this side of my straight edge, and I'm going to slide it till it's touching the image. Make sure it's lined up over here. I can use different, the length of my paper to make sure it all runs parallel. It's the same distance all the way across. And then I hold my straight edge, and I'd like you to take note that I'm holding at different points. I'm putting pressure at different points. Sometimes I will hold the ruler like this, but different points, or spread out fingers, but you do not want to hold it like this or this, because when you run your pencil, this is what happens. So you need multiple points of contact on your straight edge. So again, line it up at this side, slide it down till it's touching, make sure it's all lined up, double check. I can see right here that it's not quite lined up, so I wanna straighten it out. Again, multiple points of pressure, and draw my line across, holding my pencil farther out than I would to write. And then my last side of my box, I will come over again. I am lining up the edge of my straight edge with the edge of the paper. This time I'm coming this way just because I don't have a lot of room on this side of my page, okay? So I will slide my straight edge until I can just barely see the image peeking out. I will make sure everything's lined up nice and straight with the edge of my paper, and then I will close out my box. Okay, so I now have a box around my reference image. So whatever the image might be that you're trying to draw, this is how you would place your box, okay? That's your very first step. Then our next thing has to be our X, okay? X is next because this is how we find middle without having to measure and divide and whatnot, okay? If we do our X from corner to corner and corner to corner, it will give us the exact middle of our box. Now, when we are creating a grid, that we are going to use as reference to transfer into a second grid, it needs to be exactly the same. In this case, we're going to be increasing our drawing box by 1.5. So the ratio, it has to increase exactly the same all the way through. So if we do our X from corner to absolute corner, we can ensure precision. But if you're off where your X, your line ends here and here, then your line is off. And when you go to do it over here, your line will be off from this one, and this one, they'll be different. And then your image gets kind of wonky as you're going along. So it's really important to be very precise, corner to corner. And then, and then again, corner to corner, so that we have a very, very precise X that goes from corner to corner and corner to corner. And this gives us a perfect middle of our box right there. So our next step, we are now going to do our plus. We use the X, the center of the X, to create our plus, because the plus needs to run across in the halfway and halfway, right? So again, we want to line up our straight edge with the edge of our paper. This ensures that our line is straight. Then we're going to place the tip of our pencil right here in the very, very middle of this X, because when we complete the plus, all 4 lines of the X and the plus all have to cross at exactly the same position. Okay, so place your pencil on that position and then slide your straight edge till it touches your pencil, and then make sure that it is straight down here. It touches your pencil. And now I can run my line down my image. And I would like to point out that as I do the grid over my reference image, I am making the lines dark so I can see them over my image. But when I start to draw my my drawing grid over here, that one will need to be really light so that I can erase it without any eraser marks being left behind. Okay, so to do the horizontal line of my plus, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to place my pencil right on that X, right on the intersection. I'm going to line up my straight edge on the edge of my paper right here to make sure my line is straight, and then I'm going to run my pencil across. And you'll see that all 4 of the lines intersect very, very precisely right in the middle of the page, okay? So now I have my vertical line and my horizontal line of my plus. The last step is our diamond. Now we want to place a diamond that is perfectly centered in our image. And we are going to use the points of the plus and connect those. That is how we will create our diamond. And again, those must be very, very, very precise from corner to corner. It's the only way we can ensure the exact ratio increase and the exact transfer of our image. And then I spin my paper. Spinning your paper is a lot easier than trying to twist your straight edge in your hand. You spin your paper and then keep your straight edge and your pencil hand in the same position. Okay, there we have it. We have now created a reference grid over our reference image. Okay, so now we need to create a matching grid 1.5 times larger over here for us to use to draw our donkey a little bit bigger on this side. So as we start to create this grid, we want to do the same exact process, but we want to do it much, much lighter. Now, in order to do this 1.5 times larger, you would have to measure it Then divide that by 2 and then add it to the original measurement. Instead of doing math, I find it easier to take a strip of paper and line it up with the bottom of your grid here and mark the length, okay? So this is the length of our original grid. Then we can slide that mark to this halfway, because we know that this is right in the middle, this is half. These are equal halves of our grid, okay? And then I can mark again. So now I have 1.5 times the length of this bottom line here. And then I will bring this over and I'll come all the way as far over as I can so that when I create my line, that it goes up not into this grid, like I have room for it, okay? And I like to come low and just to give me more room, because I do know that my grid is going to be taller than this one, okay? And then I'm going to make 2 little hash marks. I'm not going to use my paper to create the line because this is cut and folded paper, and it is not necessarily square when you go to line it up with the edge of your paper. So when you go to line up the straight edge, you want to use an actual straight edge to line up with the edge of your paper. So I'm lining it up over here, and actually I would flip this upside down because it's easier. I can hold my straight edge with my left hand, I can line it up, and I can draw with my right. But I will line this up and then I will connect these 2 hash marks I've made, making sure that my ruler is lined up and straight. Okay, so now I have a line that creates the bottom of my new grid, and I need to erase this out so it's not in the way. And then I will come in and I will measure the upside of my box. So this side, the bottom and the top, they will be the same length, but the sides will most likely be different than the top and bottom. 99.9% of the time when you create your box, it will not be a square. This particular image happens to create a square, but that is very, very rare. This is the only time I've ever seen that happen. And so again, there's 1 time the length, and then I can add in the half. So I have 1.5 times the length. I bring that over here, I line it up with the edge of my line, and then I make a mark here, and now I have 1.5 times the length for the height. But again, I will bring my straight edge in to line up with the edge of my paper, slide it over even with the end of this line, and then my little hash mark is right here, so I bring that line down. And now I have the height and the width of my reference box. Okay, so I'm going to, well, we have not a lot of space on this side, so I'm going to do it this way, and I'm going to line it up. I'm going to slide it even with the end of the line, make sure it's lined up with the edge of my paper so I have a nice straight line, and then I'm going to bring this up, and then I just have to bring the top of this line over to connect to that one, and it closes up my box. And now I have a perfect box that is 1.5 times the size of this box, okay? Now I just have to go through and put in my X, my plus, and my diamond. So again, oops, I don't want to use the paper, we want to use the straight edge for these. We will perfect corner to corner lineup, and again, keep in mind that this one should be much lighter. Our lines want to be much lighter so that we can erase them when we are done. Perfect corner to corner. And now I have a perfect middle of my box, okay? And I can use that to create my plus running down the exact middle and middle of my box, okay? So again, I will place my pencil right in the middle where that intersects. I will line my straight edge up with the bottom of my paper right here. Slide this over, and then I will run my pencil down. Crosses right exactly in the middle of that intersection. And then we will turn our paper to do our horizontal portion of our plus. I will place my pencil in the intersection. I will line this up with the edge of my paper, slide it so it's touching. Once I have it all lined up, then I can just come through. Now I have all 4 lines intersecting very precisely. Each of my X lines is ending perfectly in the corner, and each of these boxes is exactly the same size, and each of the triangles is exactly the same size. Okay, now I'm going to come through and I'm going to put in my diamond from the bottom of the plus to the side, from the side to the top, from the top to the side, and from the side to the bottom. Okay, and again, I'm going to line my straight edge up, 2 points of contact. I can now scooch it like this. I have a lot of control. I line up this corner, then I line up that corner, double check the bottom one, and then run my line across. Perfectly corner to corner. Now I have a perfect X in this box. Then I will turn my paper, line up my straight edge again, 2 points of contact, holding my pencil farther back, and lightly drag my pencil down the straight edge. Turn my paper and do it again. And another tip, when you are drawing a line, you want to keep your pencil perpendicular with the straight edge. It can tip this way, it can tip this way. All right, that's fine. But if you put it this way, you're going to start pushing your straight edge. You're going to start going up underneath it. You're not going to get a straight line. If you start going this way, you're going to wobble off your straight edge. You don't want to do that either. You want it to be very perpendicular with your straight edge as you run it across. Okay, that concludes our reference grid over our reference image, as well as our 1.5 times larger drawing grid that is drawn in much lighter, but that is how I want you guys going about drawing a reference grid and a sketch grid, okay?